6, 2008. Please stand for the pledge and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow our heads. Please help myself and my colleagues make the right decisions for the citizens of Newman, and also that we have a successful and safe and profitable fall festival. Amen. When I say profitable, I mean as long as we break even, I'm happy.
I guess you could ask most of it.
Sure.
Why not?
Why not?
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Kelly? Here. Councilmember Caden? Present. Councilmember Freeclaw?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina?
Present.
Mayor Fennessy?
Present. Declarations of conflicts of interest. Seeing none this evening. Ceremonial matters, we have none. Non-agenda items. If anybody has anything they'd like to bring before the council that is not on the posted agenda, now would be the time. Seeing nothing, moving on to consent calendar. Item A, waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions except by title. B, approval of warrants. C, approval of minutes of the August 12th, 2008 special meeting and the August 12th regular meeting. And adopt resolution number 2008 next number approving Pioneer Park restroom project and authorizing myself as mayor and Michael Holland as city clerk to record a notice of completion. Questions? Really, huh?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent calendar passes. No public hearings this evening. Regular business. Item A, adopt resolution number 2008 next number, a resolution approving Plaza project funding allocation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. It's indicated in the staff report, back in November 23rd, 2004, the city of Newman, the city council adopted resolution number 2004-55, and that authorized staff to submit an application and to enter into a grant agreement with Caltrans to obtain funding for the Plaza project. At that time, the council approved required match monies in the amount of $129,136. Now, 4 years later, as we continue moving forward with the project application, the required documentation, and the signing of this grant agreement, now Caltrans is requiring a new reso that reflects the assurance of monies for the completion of the project. And that local fund amount is required now is $1,524,685. In a letter to Caltrans project manager Ram Gupta, we indicated that the amount funded by the city of Newman for the federal project will be fully funded by the redevelopment agency fund. The total project amount is $2,040,685, of which $516,000 is the TE funding, and the remainder, the $1,524,685, is the Newman RDA funding. Any questions?
Questions of Ernie? If there's no questions, then some direction.
I so move for approval of adoption resolution number 2008, next number, approving the submittal of applications, acceptance of the allocation of funds, and execution of a grant agreement with the state of California for funding of transportation enhancement activities projects.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ernie. Item B, consider approval of the Consolidated Annual Performance and Valuation Report relating to its fiscal year 07-08 past activity and open public comment period.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Tonight, before you is the draft Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, also known as the CAPER. Because the City of Newman participates in community development block grants, we are required to prepare a CAPER on a yearly basis. The CAPER also requires a public hearing. Attached to the staff report is our excerpts from the draft CAPER. All the excerpts are portions that relate to the city of Newman. It's a larger document, so well, for the sake of trees, I decided to cut down on paper. This pretty much reviews our CDBG activities for the last fiscal year. In fiscal year 07-08, the city was allocated $286,148. Staff recommends that the council consider approval of the draft CAPER, release the draft for the required public comment period, and set the public hearing for the September 9th meeting. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Not some direction then?
I make a motion that we consider approval of the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, CAPER, relating to its fiscal 2007-2008 past activities and open public comment period.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for that CAPER.
Thank you.
Item C, adopt resolution number 2008, next to number, a resolution approving housing element proposal and authorizing the city manager to execute a contract for services.
Good evening again. As required by California law, the city of Newman must adopt a housing element. Housing elements must be updated every 5 years. Our existing housing element was adopted in 2003. The element was authored by Martin Carver as a subconsultant for EMC Planning Group. Mr. Carver is the owner and principal of Coast Plans. Given his experience with the city of Newman, he's working with our Plaza project. He did our last housing element. Staff solicited a proposal for the housing element update from him, which is attached to the staff report. His proposal is for $29,920. It is a budgeted item. I believe we budgeted approximately $39,000 or $40,000 for the item, so it's $40,000?
49.
$49,000. So it's nicely under budget. And in order to comply with California law, we must update our housing element. It's due August 31st of 2009, so this gives us adequate time to get that done. I looked at the 03 proposals, and it's actually in keeping with 03 prices. I mean, in 2003, we got proposals for $40,000 for the same thing. So it's
Probably because things are slow. Everybody's working cheaper these
Most
days.
likely.
Yeah, which is a good thing
yes.
for us.
Also, Mayor, Mr. Martin Carver is a one-man operation, coastplans.com. He's a one-man operation, so he's able to keep his overhead down much lower, works out of his house. Again, he has experience with us. He did the survey last time, so that's how he's able to keep it down. I think he's only charged us maybe a 105 in terms of hourly rates, when most are, 175
It's
or
great.
200 or around that range. So that's very feasible and very economically a good decision
good.
for the city.
Well, it also helps, I think, with consistency as well.
Correct.
Knows the town.
Any further questions or comments? Not some direction then?
I'd move to adopt resolution number 2008, next to number, a resolution approving housing element proposal and authorizing the city manager to execute a contract for services.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks, Steph.
And item D, adopt resolution number 2008, a resolution adopting the redefined combined city-county disaster council and a decision-making process and appointing one elected official from the Newman City Council to serve in the revised newly combined county-city disaster council, and appointing the emergency manager for the city manager or his designee, to serve on the operational area council.
Amen. Chief.
A lot of words there, huh?
Very well said, Mr.
Well,
Mayor.
thank you.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. This is something that a council has visited in the past for the city of Newman, and many of the city councils have already discussed or are in the process of as well, the 9 cities in the county. If you see from the staff report, this goes back all the way to 1946, where Stanislaus County has had a disaster council. And it's kind of gone back and forth in if we've actually followed through with that or had strong participation. And recently the county's tried to, or is reestablishing that and trying to bring back some clarification, everybody on the same page. So the 9 cities are working together in conjunction with the county more regional type approach. So we all know what each other is doing in the event of a disaster, and we certainly know, this council knows very well that Newman is subject and has experienced disasters of their own in the past, mainly with floods. So what this does, it does not take away, though, our local authority, and final approval rests with this council on what to do in the event of a disaster in our community. But it does bring the resources of neighboring cities and the county as well to help in the decision-making process, advice, resources with our emergency plans, these types of things where we can work together. One group is the operational side, which would be, in our case, the city manager or his designee. Somehow I think that I might find myself at those meetings.
That's what I would think too.
Pretty good observation.
Kind of did the math on that one.
He is our emergency preparedness officer.
There we go.
Absolutely. There you go.
And then the other group is more of an elected, the elected officials from the communities, and they meet as needed. I think the goal is to try to meet at least quarterly at this point. So some cities have assigned the mayor to that task, or just a regular council member. So it's really up to the council who would like to designate to be on that group. We do have a couple of charts. I understand they may not have came out very well on the slide for those at home watching, but the first one, we were late in getting those to you. They should be in front of you now, though, but just sort of shows the flow chart of how things might go. The Board of Supervisors, the CEO's office, next to the actual council, which is the elected group, and then down to the operational, actual people doing the operation side. So how that might flow. And this all matches up. At some point you probably had discussions about NIMS, or the National Incident Management System, and how we have to fall into that. It was after 9/11. For grant funding, we had to accept that. I'm sure there's, at some point, the council visited that. Does anybody have any history on that, or remember?
I believe we all have
Yes.
briefcases at home with our
Yeah.
secret codes and all that stuff in it, if I remember right.
You have the launch codes.
I do have the launch codes, I think,
Push the
yeah.
button.
Yeah.
But that's for our to stay in.
Did you ever get one?
For grant funding and things like that, we had to adopt that, and this is just another component of that. The Incident Command System, NIMS, SIMS, all these components of how disasters are managed universally through the federal government, state, and locals. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Questions? Do we need to pick a representative now, Adam, for that?
I believe it has to be named in the resolution, is what I've seen from the other cities.
Any volunteers to be on this committee?
I'll do it. If nobody else has an interest, I'll be more than happy to.
Good
I
luck.
second that.
I think we all concur. Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
We need a motion then on the whole.
I'll go ahead and make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
You're not going to read this whole thing?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Okay.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item E, adopt resolution number 2008, a resolution approving Task D for the Downtown Plaza project and authorizing the city manager to execute a contract for services.
Thank you, Mayor. As we move closer and closer to the construction phase of the downtown project, what we have before you today is what it would be Task D, which is the development of construction plans. As part of it, you'll see the last page, and once you just show the. Bob might get mad because he can't see this, but all the crosshatch pattern here, with the exception of the area I'm outlining right now, which is the McBride building, and then you'll see the former design. This design actually doesn't have the layout of the Yancey building, which will come in here and take this. The construction document would include everything but this corner here. And then what we'll do is come back at a later date as we further refine that with the Yancey building and do the construction documents for this part. But what we're talking about, again, is starting over at Main Street up here across from the theater, bringing it down along the northern boundary here. This is the old Moose Lodge coming down here. Also, we got, excuse me, Supervisor. along the entire frontage between Tulare and Fresno, the entire frontage of Highway 33, and then you go up again here, and then you got this little piece as well. It comes through the alley and all of that. And it also includes, and what we'll have to do is work with either the current owner or new owner, depending on how quickly the sale goes. This is the St. George Hotel. As you can see, the plaza is proposed to encroach upon that as part of this first phase, construction phase. So what we'd be looking for from either the current or the new owner from the St. George is approval and an easement to use their property. In consideration for the easement, we would put the improvements in. And those improvements are about $90,000. And then for consideration, we would put the improvements in, and then we would get use. Now there is a proposal here that'll have some holes, small holes that you can put a portable fence in right around this area right here where I'm outlining, and then they could do outdoor dining as part of their restaurant. And then this area back in this area, with this white area behind the St. George, that would serve as their waitress stands where they can bust their tables and get drinks and those types of things on there as well. So with that, we have a proposal in front of us that's 214,200. I'm still working with RRM to get that number down. So what we're asking for you today is to approve this task up to the 214,200, and then staff will work with them to knock that number down as low as we can. This is a item that has been budgeted in our current budget year. There's 200,000 that's earmarked for this, so we'll have to knock them down to 200 and say all I got is 200. So
So I was going to ask.
Michael, one of the things in this that you said that the 2008-2009 budget has 200,000 earmarked for this project, and the aquatic center project. If we utilize all that on this Plaza project, how does that sit as far as the aquatic project?
yeah, there's some issues with the aquatic center project, and I guess now's a good time. I was going to save it for afterwards in my staff comments, but based upon some information that we're now receiving with respect to the redevelopment agency and selling bonds, there's a cap on the amount of bond proceeds that we could get from a redevelopment agency, and that was $30 million. If we were to go and try to sell bonds now, by the time we paid those bonds off, we would reach that cap. So what we're going to do is, and what we're going to float to the council is, and we're preparing a proposal right now that would amend our redevelopment agency and allow us to increase our cap. And then that would increase the cap to about $80 or $100 million, and then that would let us go out and sell bonds. At this point in time, what I would tell you is I'm going to be asking that we put the aquatic center project off for 1 year. That would allow us to get all of our redevelopment agency stuff taken care of. It'd also allow us to move forward with the Plaza project, manage this construction project, and make sure it gets done correctly, instead of having two multi-million-dollar projects trying to be constructed simultaneously in town. So at this particular point in time, I'm asking that we approve this with the $200,000 for this particular project, and then we would hold off on the aquatic center project for 1 year, and then move forward with that.
What was the original date of that $30 million cap?
The original date, under current, we wouldn't reach it right now until we sold additional bonds.
But is that 30 million, is that a city number, a
Yeah.
city limit?
It is. It's 1990 when the city council and the newly formed redevelopment agency board formed the agency. They put a cap in 1992. In 1992, $30 million was a lot of money.
That's the point that I was getting.
Yeah. In 2008, $30 million is not a whole lot of money. So that's why we need to go back and reevaluate that, and then also do an assessment on our redevelopment agency and look at where we stand with that, making sure that what we do then is survey the redevelopment agency and indicate, there's still more than $30 million worth of projects that are out there. So we need to increase our cap in order to go move forward with that.
Mike,
Yes.
I respect your decisions. I'm just wondering why you made it, because I know you have a reason. Why the aquatic center put back and the plaza continued?
Well, two reasons. One,
Want me to answer that one? No.
the Plaza project has been on the books a lot longer than
That's
the
right.
Aquatic Center project. This is a very high-profile project, as it is our window into our downtown. It's in the middle of Main Street. We have $500,000 that we have to use this year.
Gotcha.
If we don't use our $500,000 this year, we lose that T money. That's a significant amount of money. That's 25% of this first phase of the project. So that's why we've come under those guidelines. You know, the main thing is the $512,000 that we would lose in federal grant monies if we don't move forward on this project now.
Thank you.
It also promotes downtown business.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Very essential.
Yep.
That's correct.
Otherwise, Bob the Bull is going to come out from behind that room.
Lock the
Michael,
door.
one question I
Ernie.
had.
Oh.
You said that we'd put the aquatic center off 1 year.
1 year. That's what we're at this particular time now. I'm going to bring a proposal to you probably in 2 weeks at your September 9th meeting, no later than your 23rd meeting, for the redevelopment plan amendment, and then that would lay it all out in a course of action for you. Things that the board, the redevelopment board would have, the actions you would have to take, and the things that we would have to do to get the cap moved, and then sell the bond, and then the whole timetable would set out that way. Now, we can, during that conversation, we will also have a conversation about whether or not to continue to move forward with construction documents on the aquatic center. Do we expend those funds now, and we have some redevelopment funds that we could do that, or do we just wait for the 1 year and then do it all together? So that's a conversation that I was hoping to have with you on September 9th.
I think, like you said, the main thing is just get the paperwork in order to redo the cap on the bonds, and then
That's
decide
correct.
where to go from there.
That's correct. And also to try to move forward, continue to move forward with this project in the next 30 to 45 days, and Ernie might report this in his, is, you know, the Rural 20, the undergrounding is going to start taking place. You know, we relocated that water line. We have a significant investment into this already that I think the downtown, it'll definitely be a feather in the cap for the downtown merchants.
I think it's good that the downtown plaza be given the top priority over the aquatic center. I think it's great that even under the financial atmosphere we have right now, that we can even continue these projects. So
Yes.
we ought to feel pretty good about it. But no, I would concur with that.
Further questions? If not, some direction?
I so move that we adopt Resolution 2008, next number, approving Tax D for the Downtown Plaza project and authorize the city manager to execute a contract for services.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. And item F, report from Supervisor DeMartini.
Good evening, Mayor Panazia, council members. Let's had a couple of things tonight. On Friday, we had a meeting between Newman, Patterson, and Turlock and Stanislaus County over the South Corridor project. This is should the transportation tax pass, the Measure S, this is one of the three projects that is regional. So all the stakeholders got together that day, and we have decided to move forward as a joint powers agreement rather than a joint powers authority, which is a separate legal entity. That could change down the line, but we are starting to get together and we will have to analyze which is the best route from Highway 99 to Highway 5. City of Patterson definitely wants that project to the north side of Patterson. I could see the city of Turlock really doesn't really care if it went on that or the other side. So we had a pretty good first meeting. There's a draft joint powers agreement been written. It's going to be reworked a little bit, probably lowering the percentage of Newman's cost down. It's costs that you won't have to pay. It's just how much participation do you want. It's sort of more of a formality. But that is moving forward. This is the last of the 3 quarters to get itself organized, so that is now starting to move ahead. In other news, today the Board of Supervisors approved $428,000 for architectural design for the animal shelter. This brings the total Stanislaus County has spent so far up to $543,000. This is the design phase of it now. We intend to get started with this as soon as possible. Of course, architectural design, by the time we get through everything, you're talking about 6 months or more. The project is expected to cost between $9.9 and $10.8 million. The problems with the animal shelter, of course, are many. The scope of the project has changed because when the Hayden Law passed, it was no longer just a shelter for temporary housing of animals that were usually euthanized the very next day or even the same day. Now we have to hold these animals 4 or 5 days at a time. This is the time when the shelter was built. It was 1972. The population in the county is much higher now. The animal population has increased. The holding times have went up 4 or 5 times. And the construction material that the shelter was made of harbors a lot of diseases and pathogens. It was never meant as a long-term facility. And at that time, there was no emphasis on adoption, which there is now. So we are working towards rebuilding the shelter. We will reuse part of it, but some of it will be torn down. It's not worth remodeling it, and a new adoption center will be put in. We hope to have, City of Newman as one of the participants in this. As we get to the costs involved, I believe the City of Newman's share of this is something like 2%, so it's not a real high amount. It goes by population. So we are moving forward, finally, past today. Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Staff reports, Michael?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Supervisor, for leading into the South County corridor. That was an item I wanted to discuss with you. Again, as you know, the transportation sales tax measure is on the November ballot, and if whether it's successful or not, the cities of Turlock, Patterson, Newman, and the county want to get together and start a joint powers agreement to make sure that there is a linkage between I-5 and Highway 99 in the southern part of Stanislaus County. Right now, that corridor would be the Main Street corridor from Turlock westward to the river. And then Patterson's idea is once it crosses the river, because we're talking an expressway here with very limited direct access to it to move traffic rather quickly, is to then move northward and probably get it to line up with like Zacharias, and then tie it into I-5 at that particular point. They don't believe taking it straight down Main Street down Las Palmas and the getting rid of the palm trees is something that their residents would accept. Newman is included in this because of the fact that we are part of the South Corridor. There will be some secondary benefits to us. Traffic, let's say truck traffic coming out of Newman would be able to go that way and hit 99 quicker if they were going to go that way, or obviously we have direct access to I-5. But there are no real immediate direct impacts on us. But I think it's important that we participate as part of a joint powers agreement. I would have some hesitation if we went in and had a joint powers authority. Now, joint powers authority is a whole separate entity in and of itself. And there's costs that are associated with that. There's management of the joint powers. The joint powers authority could be sued. There's some significant differences here, and the cost could be different too. So while we're at a studying point, and what we're talking about now again is a joint powers agreement that would get us through the feasibility study. So let's take a look at it. Is it even feasible? And then you do project study report, which takes it a little bit further, starts looking at alignments and those types of things. Now, StanCog believes that they have federal funds available to do the feasibility report. So at this point in time, the 3 agencies, or the 4 agencies, the 3 cities in the county, really have no cost to them for the feasibility report. Now, when we get into the PSR, the project service report, I don't know that where the cost is, so we would have to evaluate that a little bit long. Now, the thing, again, with the joint powers agreement is there's out clauses. Anytime the city gets to a point that we're just not comfortable moving forward, we can always opt out of that agreement. So I just wanted to kind of keep you aware of that, see if there were any thoughts on from the council about a joint powers agreement and being part of a South County corridor. And if that's something that you would like to see, I will continue to negotiate that. I like the supervisor's number, 2%. Originally, they had it spelled out at the county was 40%, and each of the 3 cities was 20%. And now that was, and I wasn't sure, and we're still having that discussion whether that was a cost breakdown. We can't accept a cost breakdown of 40-20-20 because of the fact that we don't get 20% of the benefit. But if it's 40-20-20 in terms of representation, meaning the county would get 2 people on the board and we'd get 3, that's something a little bit different that we might be willing to accept. But again, as a minor player and only receiving secondary benefits, I don't believe that we should be required to put up 20% of the cost on that. So we'll continue to negotiate that. If I don't hear any strong objections from any members of the council, we'll continue to explore that and bring that back to the council for approval of a joint powers agreement. We're trying to move this forward pretty quickly because we want to show the residents of Turlock, Patterson, and Newman, and just west side of Stanislaus County that we're serious about this South County corridor, and whether the Measure K goes forward or not, or the K or S? S. Measure S goes forward or not. We still believe that this is an important piece corridor for residents in West Stanislaus County and South Stanislaus County. So.
I think we definitely should have a seat at the table, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So again, I'm pushing for a joint powers agreement right now that does not create a separate entity at this particular point in time. And if the feasibility report and the PSR prove that it's a very viable project, or if Measure S passes, then we should definitely explore the opportunity of a joint powers authority. So, Tom, did you want to add any of that?
No, that sounds good.
Okay.
If it passes, then that's a whole different issue. Then
Yes, it is.
Then you get the JPAs going and all that. Sure.
'Cause otherwise, we can't really afford to get rid of our tip money, S-tip, F-tip,
Exactly.
and all that money. So we can't afford to pledge our transportation monies to this corridor when we have immediate transportation needs in our community.
Absolutely.
So with that, that will be coming before you in September. We just, with a big thank you to our assistant planner, Stephanie, we just finished our RFP, a request for proposals for our AB 1600 report. And AB 1600 report is an update on our capital facility fees, or our impact fees. As you know, this council has been reviewing our master plans for infrastructure over the last several months, and we still got the preliminary, and we hope to adopt or accept in October the wastewater ones. Now, what this does is it raises or evaluates our impact fees to make sure we're collecting the appropriate amount of money through impact fees to pay for the improvements that are associated with the adoption of those master plans. So we want to make sure that we're collecting the right amount of money from future development to pay for the infrastructure that's required to serve those. Again, it's on a fair share basis. Now, we'll do a little bit because there will be some improvements because of existing residents, but the majority of them come from new development. New development pays for their fair share, and it's not a burden on the existing residents. So we'll be sending that out probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks, 30 days to respond, and then we'll get back to the council. Again, that is another item that you have included in the 08-09 budget. Several months ago, this council met with the city council from Patterson as well as the West Stanislaus Fire District. I'm proud to tell you that our software program is now compatible with theirs. Pending one final meeting between the city manager, Patterson, myself, and the fire chief of West End, we're ready to flip the switch and all be on the same software program, all reporting to the same server and all the like that's going to be going on. So that's the first step that we talked about a regional approach towards solving issues. And West End was in the fire protection was one of them. Well, this is the first step. So we're ready to go live, and that'll probably happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So I hope on September 9th I'll report to you that we are live because everything is set up. We just need to flip the switch. Moving to September 15th, we're back on with 2-on-2s with the school district. So that'll be Councilmember Kelly and Councilmember Martina. I think we were doing those at 4 o'clock or 4:30.
I think it was 4:30.
4:30? That's fine. Yeah, we'll do those at 4:30 then. And I'll remind Mr. Foss, one of the things we're going to be looking at right off the bat is, and we've had discussions on, is the joint use agreement. That agreement is pretty old, so we're looking at capturing a new one from I think Ceres or a few other cities that we're looking at right now to update our joint use facility agreement with the school district. Yeah, talked about that, and then we talked a little bit about the caper today, and mostly just to let you know that CDBG projects. You saw some work that was being done in the alleyway right up here at Kern. Between Kern and Mariposa, between Main Street and P Street. They were relocating a gas line so that we could do the sewer line replacement that this council approved as part of the CDBG project. So that should be probably going out to bid in the next 30 or 45 days. And then that project will be moving forward in the next 60 to 90 days. So we'll have that completed. And then we're engineering and we're meeting with engineers on the sidewalk infill project. That's also part of this CDBG project year. So to date, I'm proud to say that I think we probably have used about $1.2 million in CDBG money since we've joined, and I think we joined in like 2004. So, and then just lastly, you've seen some of the news conferences. Cut up the card. Cut up the card is where local cities are telling and are emailing the state legislature to cut up their credit card and quit borrowing from cities and taking money from the cities. Just so the residents of Newman know, the state government has taken $1.7 million from you since 1992. It's $100,000 a year. That's at least one officer on the street every year from you for the last 17 years. So they've taken $1.7 million from us, and that doesn't include what they're going to take from us this year. We're probably estimating that to be in the $100,000 to $200,000 range. So with that, I can entertain any questions that the council may have.
Michael, could you briefly, I know that Tom and you have been working on the new law that would take care of homes that have gone into foreclosure and are not being taken care of, and the new law would provide for a fine of $1,000 a day. I know that Tom's been working on this.
Yeah, I'll turn that to Tom and he
Yeah.
can respond.
Actually, City of Riverbank's been the guinea pig on that, and the big problem is who's the appeals board, because you have to have somebody that they appeal the fine to. We're making it the planning commission there. I mentioned at our planning commission meeting last week we would make them the hearing board. I didn't hear any objections, so hadn't talked to you all about it. But anyway, that's where I'm at in working on it. They've gone the farthest, and I figure we'll learn from what happens there. The $1,000 fine, though, that everybody hears about, that's up to $1,000. So you have to look at the circumstances involved in each case. But if we're going to go after somebody, it probably will be in that range, because we're not going to obviously be able to hit them all, and you go after the most egregious violators. So I would think we could have a draft, end of the month, next month of,
I
of
just
the
think it's
process.
it's so important because if you look around, drive around our town, you'll see how many homes are under these conditions,
Yeah.
and it just, it's terrible that people live next door to something like this, how it affects the value of their
Mhm.
homes. So it's really critical. But thank you very much.
Yeah, so it, hopefully, hopefully fairly soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Is that it, Michael?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Other staff reports?
You guys don't draw straws or anything?
Always make the new guy go first. They're still on that, huh?
Exactly. The mayor mentioned it at the beginning of the meeting. Fall Festival this weekend. We're been gearing up for that. Excited that that event is ahead, beginning tomorrow night.
Tomorrow
actually,
night,
to kick
fashion
off.
show.
And then, so we'll be happy to see a lot of folks out and about at the park and so on this weekend. Neighborhood Watch, last Thursday night, we were extremely pleased and impressed. Again, just can't say enough about the people of this community, how involved they are. It's something we definitely want to keep alive, because I think it unfortunately has died in many communities, at least the participation level. We were pleasantly surprised. 65 people showed up at the Neighborhood Watch sort of kickoff town hall meeting last Thursday night. So we'd like to thank everybody for attending that, and to stay tuned. We won't forget about you, and we will soon be breaking that larger group into smaller groups actually within the neighborhoods, and then reaching out to those people to try to work together in addressing some of their neighborhood concerns. And sort of piggyback off of that, on Tuesday last week as well, we had the Chamber of Commerce mixer that the city was the host, and we sort of discussed crime prevention. I guess it would be business watch. And in that meeting, I think we had about 30 people, 30 businesses represented in that meeting as well. So we were very pleased with the response there, and discussed how the business community and the police department could work together. So that went very well, and we hope to continue that relationship as well. And the last thing, to just sort of echo what the city attorneys mentioned, as well as Councilmember Martinez, our code enforcement efforts are back up full strength again. You know, it was amazing that the amount we lost, the momentum we lost in just probably a 4 or 5 week period of losing Edgar to the police academy and then trying to get someone hired and trained. He is out and about now and has begun code enforcement efforts again. So hopefully we'll work hard to try to catch up and work closely with the new ordinance that we'll be studying and through our existing programs. So let us know, anybody that has any issues that we need to take a look at. The plate's pretty full. On that 5 week period, things got worse. So, questions?
Adam, I'd just like to comment on, I attended the Neighborhood Watch Fund. I think you did a great job hosting it, and it was really interesting, all the interaction, the people who did attend, the questions that were asked, and the people you brought to speak, and I was impressed. And I did look at the Loma website, and it was just amazing what that group of neighbors did in their neighborhood watch, and how they were able to get funds through grants and improve their own neighborhoods. And as I was walking down with my wife, I mentioned, and I was glad I was wrong. I said I'd be surprised if I saw 20, 25 people there. And people just kept coming, and I say that I think I counted 66, but I was impressed. So job well done.
Thank you.
Chief, I had a question. This is something you hear time and time again, I'm sure, from a lot of people, but we still have a lot of speeders in this town, and I know it's a difficult thing to work with and to deal with these kind of people, but I know that in a lot of other cities, they use these signs that are permanent signs that actually have the speed limit on them, and actually show your speed as you approach. I get the feeling as a driver that this causes people to slow down. As soon as they see their speed and they realize they're over the speed limit, they start to slow down. And I don't know if it's something that Newman would like to look at, or if it's even feasible as far as us looking at something like that. And maybe you probably know more about this, how well it works or it doesn't work, and, how it does help.
I can report back on the costs. I don't know them. I never have been a part of the process to install them. I think you're right to the level of if the traveler isn't a frequent flyer, so to speak, on that road, I think they probably have some deterrent effect. But if that's the route you take to your house first few times, I think maybe it'll cause you to slow down, but at some point it just becomes a part of your everyday routine, and that sort of just blends into the rest of the scenery. I think the Los Angeles police chief says it best that penicillin to crime is police officers. So a motorcycle officer would probably be the best deterrent to speeders than permanently posted signs. But we certainly can look at that. There won't be cheap by any means, because they are, as you said, permanently mounted, at the location and wired in and so on.
Oh, I know in my particular case, as I drive, a lot of times I'm over the speed limit, and I don't mean to be.
What was the date and time of that, Councilman?
Or were you?
It wasn't, it was not in this city, not in this county.
What county were you in?
No, but I'm just saying, and I'm sure you never drive over the speed.
Absolutely not.
That's
Councilman.
true. But anyway, what I'm saying is, when I see that I am over the speed limit and not realizing that I am, then I slow down. So I think there's a lot of people like this, and I think there's a lot of people, like you say, they really don't care.
Right.
And
Those that care will certainly. They'll adjust their speed and stop. The people we encounter most often, though, are people not like you, unfortunately. So those people won't have much of. It takes one of us at their window to really get their attention. But
Chief, a funding mechanism may well be OTS. I know that they have those programs. I don't recall what funding cycle is through OTS. Time-wise, you have to get funding in for the grants. But I do know that they have those on their funding cycle. Those particular signs that you're talking about, they run off solar and they flash.
Exactly.
It's a radar, basically, is what it is.
Exactly.
So
we'll definitely look into that. And we have the radar trailer, but it is just becoming the cost to really get it back out. This trailer, I believe, was 1994, 95, somewhere around that. Some of the parts, the manufacturer for the trailer doesn't even exist anymore. Some of the parts turns out that we're needing to get it back in service, having a very difficult time locating those. So I don't know that we're going to be able to even redeploy the current radar trailer we have. But we'll definitely look at some prices on that and see what Councilmember Cadence is referring to, the State Office of Traffic Safety. And we'll look and see what grants are available to do.
anything that you can slow them down, I don't care what it is. Big, large bumps, guns.
Jeez.
No, I just think that there's an epidemic out there, and I think a lot of these people, it's really dangerous. I mean, I see people coming down Hillsbury 60, 70, 80 miles an hour and not slowing down. And I mean,
it probably is
that's
the
a
number
common
one
occurrence.
complaint that I hear is traffic in the city, definitely, right now.
Thank you.
Chief, one question on a speeding ticket. Let's say it's a $120 speeding ticket. What part of that comes back to the city of Newman?
Very, very little. Actually, the county and the state takes most of that funding. I don't remember exactly, but we're talking in the 5-digit range, probably what we brought in last year, I believe, in traffic fines. The city, contrary to what common people believe, that it's a revenue source for the city, and that's why we write citations and so on. That's just not the facts.
So if an officer has to appear in court, we've lost money on the deal.
More than likely, or certainly, I would say, in general, on an average, on an annual basis, we're certainly not making any money off of citations. When you take the time of the officer, the clerks entering it, our software, our cars, our fuel, and so on, we're definitely not profiting from issuing traffic citations.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Next.
I've only got one item, and it has to do with the handicap parking at Dr. Kanga. First of all, I want to apologize for not bringing this matter before you at the last council meeting. I completely forgot, and I remembered it when I went home, went to bed. But anyway, I did meet with Dr. Kanga on Thursday, August the 7th at 1 o'clock in his office. And I proceeded to let him know that the city council was concerned, had directed me to meet with him to discuss that issue of the handicap parking. And I asked him if he was open to the idea of perhaps installing a handicap ramp in his parking lot, that making an access point somewhere along the fence so that his building could be readily accessible. And after he listened to the proposal, he stated that he firmly believed that the handicap parking stall should be out in the street. He went on to say that the city was sorely lacking in handicap parking stalls and that there should be additional stalls at the post office and the local banks. And the Dr. Kanga stated that when the streetscape project was ongoing, that someone from the council approached him and asked him, inquired of him as to what improvements he would like to see installed, and he stated at that time that he expressed the need for handicap parking, and so he was quite adamant about the parking stall should be out in the street and not in his parking lot. So,
Ernie, is there any mandate about the number of handicap spaces you need to have? Or Michael?
Yeah, the Uniform Building Code and the ADA, National Federal Law, Americans with Disability Act, determines how many parking spaces are required per use and per number of parking stalls. So I think you go up to about, you get one per, I think, the first 49, and then when you go up to 50, I think there's a second one added, and there's a whole formula based upon the number of parking spaces that you're required to provide as a business. There's a percentage that you have to provide for handicapped.
And where do we fall in all that mix?
We don't own any businesses.
Oh, so it's all
Yes,
business.
they're businesses, yes.
That'd be a new business that's building a parking lot or their own lot or something like that.
So I'm assuming
And
that.
part of, like, if, let's say we were to build a new city hall, we would be required then to provide off-street handicap parking access. Because we sit in existing buildings that were built prior to this code being enacted, the adoption of the ADA, there are none that we currently have.
So we're grandfathered
Our
in
current, yes,
downtown.
our current buildings are grandfathered in. But any new buildings, like when we build the aquatic center, we will be providing handicap access, handicap stalls in our parking lot.
Aaron, I just comment, could you do me a favor tomorrow, look, or whenever you have a chance, but look back there at the soccer field. There's some graffiti on that one fence. They painted part of it. It's white, all white, but then the other is still there. It's been there for 2 or 3 weeks now. I'd appreciate it. Thank you, buddy.
Sure.
See that every morning when I walk, so.
Well, based on Ernie's report, I guess I would ask consensus from the council how we should proceed. I still think there's an issue and there's a problem. I liked the proposal. Was he not willing to help work with us at all?
no, he just plainly said, no, that parking stall should be out in the street. So,
What was it cost on that?
Well, you know,
About $5,000.
Yeah, $5,000, wasn't it, just to?
I agree with you. I think there is an actual need, but we do open a can of worms like we talked about, that then everybody says, wait a minute, I want equality, you did it here, you need to do it here. And I think we're just going someplace that has no end to it as far as the city's responsibility. And my feeling is we shouldn't go there in the first place. I do realize that there's a need for it, but at this point in time, I would say stay away.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I guess I have to agree with that analogy. And I was really in hope that Dr. Congo might be able to work with us a little bit. For that reason, if we were able to do something and then somebody else chimed in and wanted something, if they were willing to work with us, it's unfortunate, but I guess I can say I tried and it just fell by the wayside, so be it. But I agree. As strongly as I feel that we need something there, because I don't feel that we have enough handicap parking downtown, I think the one we have at this corner is useless. But given that, I guess unless he's willing to work with us a little bit and maybe help share the cost with us, and we're trying, I think, in essence, almost do him a favor by trying to put handicap a little bit closer to his doors, but at that, I'll let it go.
Any other questions on any other
Yeah,
matter?
I had a question.
Yes.
We have a lot of people that park on the street. Are a lot of those people working downtown? Are they
Yes.
taking up parking that could be used by customers? I get very concerned when the employees are using those parking spots right in front of the place of business. And that, to me, is wrong.
You know, Bob, I can feel Bob Naveau back there jumping up and down.
Talking about this
Yeah,
for 50 years.
It has been
No,
ongoing
but I'm
for
just saying
quite some
it's
time.
wrong. It's wrong.
Yes.
There he goes. You didn't bolt the door, Ernie.
wrong camera on, Bob.
That's okay, Robert.
Where'd he go
Leave
ahead
it
and do
right
the
there.
camera?
Go push that other button. I don't care.
Get them all riled up.
Go fix that.
Jeez.
You want to be on there.
You asked that question, Councilman. You know,
identify
I
yourself,
have.
Hey, who are you?
Excuse me, Bob
Who are you?
Navoa,
Oh.
940 Fresno Street, Navoa Jewelers, and I think most all of the council, or at least city staff, knows where I park my car, and my wife also. And I cannot even begin to measure the frustration that I have felt as a merchant for 35 years. The number of times that we have made an all-out effort to try to educate the merchants. And for the most part, you know, I would say probably 50% of the merchants are concerned and take steps to try to ensure that their cars aren't parked on the street, and the rest of them don't care. They just don't get it.
You're right, Bob.
And we even went so far as to the Chamber of Commerce to put together a little brochure, and I'll give myself credit, I came up with this little thing, and it's called MOM, and it's called Merchants Off Main Street. And the letter goes on to say, you know, when you park in front of my business, you're taking my customers to Modesto and Turlock. And when you park in front of somebody else's business, you're doing the same thing. But when you park in front of your own business, then your customers are parking in front of my business, and my customers are still going to Turlock and Modesto. So there's no cure to it. My focus at this point is when the plaza gets finished. I'm glad it's coming up now because we talked about the plaza tonight. I'm going to come before the council at that time, and I'm going to ask for some real teeth of some sort. I'm not sure how we're going to be able to do that now, but even if it's just a position that says, you've got a parking lot now, we've spent X million dollars to get this done, you can walk to any business between Tulare and Merced Street in a minute and a half from that parking lot, because I've already timed it, even if you walk slow. And so I think it's going to be really important for not just the city to take that position, but for the majority of the merchants to take that position, because it's going to be in our own best interest. And they need to be educated. You know, we can do it now, but quite frankly, yes, it's a parking management problem, but it's also, we just don't have the spaces unless people start parking on P Street. And, you know, they can do that. You can park in the dirt lot. Right now it's okay, but in the wintertime it's impossible. You just can't do it. It's just too muddy. And so until that project gets completed, I don't know the answer other than for the press to make it aware again and again and again. And, you know, I don't know. I look back when I was president of Chamber of Commerce in 1976, and we tried then, and you know, nobody listened then. They're still not listening. So.
Don't give up.
I'm not going to. You know, my plan is clearly set, and when the parking lot is completed and the plaza's, you know, whatever, I know the parking lot's coming first, but when that's done, believe me, you're going to hear loud and clear from a lot of merchants downtown, because we've all been talking about it and saying, okay, what's our strategy? And that is, let's give them a place to park, so they can't say, well, there's no place to park. Saturday, I almost went out and chewed somebody's head off. I was irate, and it was a merchant in my block parked in front of my store, directly in front of my store, the whole morning.
Make them mad or
What are
something?
you gonna do? I don't know.
Uh-huh.
And
Well,
so
we're
you
on
still
your
got to
side.
live in the building, you know, and to get along with people. But the time is coming.
I knew that would raise the blood pressure.
Yeah. So my blood pressure is great. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Sure, Dave.
Good evening, Dave Reed, 1541 Kern Street. When I was on the council and later member of the chamber, I went around to all these merchants all up and down Main Street, talked to them, and most of them said, oh yeah, you know, shouldn't park in front of the house, of our buildings, we should park somewhere else. And I suggested the alleys. Well, we have space back there. Do you have a back exit? Yes, we do, but it's not paved back there. So a lot of them cooperated, and most of them didn't. They'd say yes, then go ahead and park it there anyway. But I thought when we finish this, particularly in the area where we're going to repave the alleys for the Plaza thing, that then we should go to the individual building owners or merchants and talk to them about making parking spaces behind their buildings, so that they can park back there, and for them, the employees, if they only have one or two. I know several people are starting to do it now, but there's other ones that you go, oh, we should never do that. No, we should never park out there. Well, okay, they don't. They park across the street in front of some other business. So there's a couple restaurants that are famous for that. But anyway, I just wanted to follow up on that a little bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
And thank you, Ernie, for your efforts on that project. Thank you.
Further staff reports?
Thanks, Mike. Good evening, Mayor, council members. I just have a report on all of our summer activities that we had, and you'll see the group pictures of all the kids in the camps. I bribed them to let me take a picture by telling them I'll get their picture on TV. So I'm keeping my word to them. Our volleyball camp, this was our first year that we offered it. It was instructed by Nicole Moore and Stephanie Lopez. We had 17 participants for the first year. That we were really happy with that count. Basketball camp, it was our third year we offered it. It was instructed by Chuck and Chris Messer. We had 40 participants. Soccer camp was our second year offered. It was instructed by Erica Velasquez, Joanna Souza, and Gina Lessel. We had 34 participants. Our Future Stars 2000s, our tennis lessons, it was instructed by Dr. Lance Turner. Our first session had 28 participants. Our second session had 23 participants, and we will be offering a third session beginning September 11th. Our swim field trips, this was our third year, and those were chaperoned by Alicia Torres. We had 80 registered participants, and we took 157 kids to the Gustine Pool. The Fit Kids program, this was the first year we offered it. It was instructed by Recreation Department staff and volunteers. We had 168 registered participants. We had 1,235 children signed in for the 27 days that we had class, and that's an average of 45 kids a day. The Teen Center had 1,112 visitors this summer. And I also wanted to let Bob know that soccer games will begin Saturday, September 6th at 8:30 a.m. at Sherman Park.
Great.
Any questions?
No, I'm amazed. This is so wonderful just to see those pictures.
Yeah.
It's excellent. I mean, this is just greatest thing to see young
They actually
people.
look like they're having fun.
Yeah, you know, the thing that you're doing for these young people is just beyond words, because they're getting a lot of direction and guidance and people that care about them. And that's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great job, Terry.
Thank you, Terry. Anyone else? None? No other staff reports? Council comments? Mike?
Mr. Mayor, I have none this evening, thank you.
Thank you. Bob?
I have none.
None? Ted?
None. Thank you, sir.
Ed?
I think I already said it. I just going to thank Chief for the Neighborhood Watch program. It was well attended, and I've already said that, so that's it.
I just wanted to encourage everyone to come out for the Fall Festival. As the chief said, tomorrow night's a fashion show. 7 o'clock starts then, and Friday night's a wine and cheese. There's still tickets available, and everyone comes to the park Saturday and Sunday, and Miss Newman pageant Saturday night, parade on Sunday. Look forward to seeing everybody there. With that, we will adjourn the closed session
Mayor,
for...
Mayor,
Sorry.
just has one, just a quick one. I'm sorry. With the fall festival coming up in the dirt parking lot over there, is there? We could look at a potential dust control issue out there. Is there any guidance on from the council?
At the lot over here? Or?
Yeah, we know part of our parking lot is paved in the downtown. The other part is not paved. I haven't been out there lately, but it was just dawning on me. Is dust control an issue? Should I try to get a vendor out there to maybe put something down?
Yeah, I don't think a whole lot of people park and walk
Okay.
that far, to Pioneer Park.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't think
Because
I'd
mostly
worry
just
about
the
it at
parade
this-
then is when it's
Yeah,
the downtown.
I wouldn't worry
events.
about it
Okay.
at this late date,
Okay.
personally.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
With that, we will adjourn the closed session then. Thank you.